The story takes place about 800 years ago. At the time, there was a country in the East Asian region called the Song Dynasty, where present-day China is located. This country was like the ancient ancestor of today's China, but much smaller than the China we know now. The reason for this was that a wild and tough ethnic group from the north suddenly barged in and took over a large chunk of land in northern China. And, apart from this mighty nation, there were several other considerably powerful ethnic groups. In the midst of this, the indescribable territory was filled with various tribes, but unlike the powerful nations, these tribes were a chaotic mess, lacking unity and constantly bickering amongst themselves, which made them weak. In this chaos, a figure emerged among the tribes, Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan declared, "I shall unite these tribes." In this way, Genghis Khan faced harsh experiences, such as having his wife abducted and losing battles to rivals among the intertribal conflicts. But despite the challenges, he persevered, gathering comrades who would later become excellent key figures. Against all odds, Genghis Khan successfully united these various tribes and formed a single nation. Thus, the country born under Genghis Khan's leadership was known as the Mongol Empire, and Genghis Khan became its revered emperor. However, Genghis Khan declared further, "We shall crush the large country to the south." The large country to the south was on a different level compared to the tribes encountered before. This formidable nation had even intimidated China in the past, but Genghis Khan still launched an attack. As a result, he brilliantly brought the nation under the subjugation of the Mongol Empire, acquiring the vast territories of the giant country to the left in the process. Having acquired immense power, Genghis Khan declared, "We shall annihilate the large country to the east." This large eastern country was likely the strongest in the region, setting the stage for a showdown between this powerhouse and the Mongol Empire. As a result, the overwhelming power of the Mongol Empire seized the northern part of the large country. Furthermore, while the Mongol Empire had previously engaged in battles mainly in the northern plains, this particular conflict unfolded in the Chinese region. Conquering formidable fortresses required new tactics, and through this battle, the Mongol Empire honed its skills in siege warfare, continuously upgrading its prowess in conquest. Genghis Khan declared once again, "We shall destroy the West." Thus, the now colossal superpower, the Mongol Empire, instantly pulverized the giant country to the west. When the Mongol Empire invaded cities, it employed the following strategy. If the city surrendered and admitted defeat, offering plenty of goods, the Mongol Empire allowed the city to continue existing within its territories. However, if the city resisted, the Mongol Empire thoroughly destroyed it, leaving nothing behind but devastation. As a result, since many cities chose to resist, this led to the massacre of their populations and irreversible catastrophic damage that rendered them unrecoverable in subsequent history. Rumors of the destruction and massacre terrified other cities, allowing the Mongol Empire to make them surrender efficiently and easily conquer cities with minimal effort. Genghis Khan once again proclaimed, "We shall further obliterate the West." This region no longer resembled China, Japan, or other parts of East Asia. Instead, it had a Middle Eastern vibe. Even today, the area is inhabited by many people who practice the widely revered Islam religion. There was a giant empire here. It had recently gained prominence and was becoming increasingly stronger. Then, the two mighty empires clashed with one another. This resulted in the annihilation of around 1 million people from the Middle Eastern-style empire, with precious Islamic structures in the region ruthlessly destroyed. Meanwhile, during this battle, the king of the mighty empire desperately tried to escape, warning of the danger coming from the east, but he succumbed to illness and died in a vast lake. In chasing this king, a separate unit of the Mongol Empire advanced aggressively through the region and ended up somewhere unfamiliar. This area was more of a Russian-like region, and after delivering a devastating blow to the Russian-like enemies, the separate unit turned back. In this way, Genghis Khan also returned to his main base, and around this time, one of the countries from earlier seemed to be up to no good. Genghis Khan quickly dealt a catastrophic blow to the nation, but in the end, he died of illness along the way. Afterwards, as the successor to Genghis Khan, Ogedei Khan emerged as the emperor of the Mongol Empire. Ogedei Khan was the son of Genghis Khan, and he said the following, "Our territory has become too vast. Let's better organize the internal structure." The Mongol Empire had a system of stations throughout the country that allowed people to move efficiently, and Ogedei Khan significantly expanded it. As a result, a network was established that facilitated the transportation of goods, crucial information, and horses, which were highly essential, within the excessively vast territory of the Mongol Empire, allowing the nation to run much more smoothly. With the launch of these stations, Ogedei Khan declared, "We shall destroy the mighty country of the East." Thus, Ogedei Khan finally succeeded in annihilating the mighty empire that had once posed a threat to China. Consequently, the northern part of China also became part of the Mongol Empire's territory. Ogedei Khan further declared, "We shall obliterate the regions of Russian influence too." Thus, they set out to destroy the areas with the Russian influence that the separate unit of the Mongol Empire had encountered by chance. As a result, the Russian ancestors were completely taken over by the Mongol Empire, and this influence is said to have caused significant stagnation in Russia's subsequent civilization. The Mongol forces that arrived in this region further proclaimed, "We shall go on and destroy the West." Thus, the Mongol forces advanced further west, engaging in battles with powerful European armies, including Poland and Germany, successfully inflicting devastating damage. And the Mongol forces declared once again, "We shall go on and destroy the West." With this, the entire region of Europe faced an imminent threat of complete destruction. However, around this time, the emperor of the Mongol Empire, Ogedei Khan, passed away, leading to the withdrawal of the Mongol forces from this region. Thanks to their withdrawal, the widespread destruction of Europe was averted, and this divergence apparently played a large role in shaping the subsequent civilization of Europe and other regions. However, after the death of Ogedei Khan, there was a bit of a dispute over the succession to the emperor, causing a crisis within the Mongol Empire. Nevertheless, the internal issues were somehow resolved, and a new emperor, Mongol Khan, emerged. Mongol Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan, declared, "We shall simultaneously conquer China and the Middle East." Thus, he continued the aggressive activities inherited from his grandfather. Before conquering the entire region of China, the Mongol Empire swiftly annexed the area where Tibet is currently located. Then, the Mongol Empire at last attacked the Song dynasty, but faced considerable challenges in the process. However, they successfully gained control of the Korean region, which had been under attack since the time of Ogedei Khan. Meanwhile, as for the attack on the Middle East, there was a venerable country in the area boasting a 500-year-old history. And Baghdad, the capital of the country, was the largest city in the world at the time. Hundreds of thousands of people in Baghdad were massacred in the fierce Mongol military assault. Moreover, the Mongol forces thoroughly destroyed the prestigious schools, valuable architectural structures, and libraries containing precious Islamic manuscripts with centuries of history, instantly turning the once prosperous city of Baghdad into ruins. As a result, the river next to Baghdad reportedly turned bright red with the blood of the people, and then pitch black with the ink of the valuable manuscripts that were ruthlessly destroyed. Even in the era of Genghis Khan's grandchildren, the Mongol Empire remained naughty, but as its forces advanced further westward, Mongol Khan suddenly passed away. His death sparked a succession war within the Mongol Empire. Amidst this internal conflict, the Mongol forces faced defeat against an Islamic country, marking the end of the Mongol Empire's invasion into the Middle East. The internal disputes within the empire eventually settled, and Mongol Khan's brother, Kublai Khan, became the emperor of the Mongol Empire. However, by this time, several regions within the Mongol Empire had gained significant power, resembling individual countries within a loose confederation rather than a single unified empire. Despite earlier difficulties, the Mongol Empire finally succeeded in conquering the Song dynasty. As a result, the Mongol Empire became the second largest empire in human history in terms of land area. Subsequent attempts to attack Vietnam and Japan were unsuccessful, and internal conflicts within the Mongol Empire's confederation led to a slowdown in its expansion. The confederated nations eventually reconciled, leading to a relatively peaceful era where people freely moved around within the vast empire. This period witnessed unprecedented cultural exchanges, bringing together cultures that had never interacted before. However, later on, internal conflicts and wars within each respective country ruined the unity of the Confederation. The nations inheriting the legacy of the Mongol Empire continued their separate histories, and the era of the colossal Mongol Empire as a unified entity came to an end. And this concludes the video on the history of the Mongol Empire. See you next time.